Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Grace Holland. Do you know what are in your favorite food and snacks and drinks? All the good stuff, the junk food is kind of what we're talking about here. A new Consumer Reports investigation found that there were some concerning levels of certain additives and contaminants in some big name brands. I'm Grace Holland. Thank you for joining us. I'm here with WRAL 5 on your sides, Alex Littlehales, and we're kind of diving into this investigation that Consumer Reports did. Thank you so much for joining us here for this conversation on our YouTube page. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss conversations like this. So, Alex, what are some of the brands and products that Consumer Reports looked into here?
So it was it's 40 products, and it's a wide array of household items that honestly I think a lot of us have in our pantries and our fridge. So we can go from one extreme to like Diet Mountain Dew. We could also go to pretty common things like muffin mixes, Bisquick. Am I pronouncing that right?
Bisquick.
Bisquick, right?
Yeah, Bisquick,
okay, yeah, I'm not a pancake guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, we use it for here in the South. We use that in biscuits too. So
okay,
yeah,
I'm not from the South, so
yeah,
I'm
okay,
not. Connecticut doesn't have a ton of biscuits. But so it's things both in your fridge, like sports drinks, energy drinks, Gatorades, a lot of sugar-free alternative items is what they tested, but they also tested things like I said, muffin mixes, things that you would actually use for part of a regular diet, I would say, like instant mashed potatoes, some other just kind of common snack items like Cheetos, Takis, things that are really popular with kids right now. So it's a wide array of things that the average consumer probably has in their pantry.
Right. And Alex, are you a salty snack guy or a sweet snack guy?
So my wife and I go back and forth a lot because she contends that I have a sweet tooth, and I do not.
You deny that.
I'm
okay.
saying that on the record now that I do not. I am much more of a salty snack kind of person, like 99.99%. Of the time, I am hitting like the most crazy flavored chip from a gas station. Like that is my.
So you're getting like the blue Takis, like the insane Taki
it's tough. It
find.
is tough being a reporter with like stuff like that though, because it's like you got blue dust on your fingers
Yeah.
when you're driving, and then it gets everywhere.
Yeah.
So I try, but yeah, crunchy and salty. I'm actually a big fan of like sunflower seeds because it keeps you
just like plain or like with the seasoning.
With the seasoning, because
Yeah.
it kind of keeps you engaged on some of those long car rides when you're out on assignment. So,
For sure.
But what about you? Are you?
I'm definitely a sweet tooth kind of person.
Okay.
Although I have to have
sweet treat.
popcorn. Yeah, I love
lover
a
of
sweet
sweet
treat.
treat.
I will. It does not take much for me to say, let me go get a sweet treat. But
Fun fact about popcorn. Do you like popcorn?
love popcorn.
Oh my gosh.
It's like I have switched. I used to be like Orville Redenbacher microwave popcorn, whatever, not to name any particular brand. Could also do Pop Secret, whatever was available. But like now I'm like the bagged like
the kernels?
Well, I do like the kernels too.
Okay.
A friend in college bought me like the actual popper. I need to get to using it again because it was actually really like it's easier than you think it would be.
Yeah, so I'm a total like snack fiend, me and my wife,
Yeah.
and so it's like we actually don't buy snacks because we'll just run through them. So like our one guilty pleasure is like a bag of popcorn kernels because we have to make it on the stovetop, and it's like actually like such a hassle to have to like it's like 1920s, right? Like
Yes.
you're cooking popcorn kernels on the stove, but it's the only way to prevent us from just like totally
going crazy
on snacks. Yeah. So I feel you. I'm a big popcorn person.
When I was looking at this list of snacks, like Little Debbie's were on there. I mean, there's like some staple snacks that were on this. So
Hostess
like,
is on there too, which is like such a classic. Everyone remembers growing up with like Hostess, donuts and cakes and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so, what is it about these additives? Like, why are they used in our foods, particularly in these like more processed types of snacks?
So, additives there's a lot of science behind it, but to put it plainly, it's so that products can maintain safety, freshness, taste, texture, and to some degree nutritional value because, when you're manufacturing so much of that product and you need it to have a stable shelf life over such a long period of time from the distribution center to the grocery store back to the home, like you obviously these companies are putting these things in there to make sure that it lasts like the whole leg of the trip, right? But part of this investigation is, calling attention to the fact that it's just not clear how many additives right now are actually in the U.S. food supply system. The investigation kind of looks into the a legal loophole that sort of allows companies to introduce new substances like these into food without notifying the FDA or undergoing federal safety review. So this investigation, by looking at these common products, kind of highlights sort of just not the wild, wild west of it all, because the FDA exists, but it's sort of calling attention to the fact of, hey, this is what's in our food. Should there be more regulation? Should there be more rules set around the kinds of food that are in U.S. products, especially when we compare these equivalent products to the ones that we see in Europe as well? That was a big takeaway from the investigation.
Yeah, like seeing where the gaps are. And I mean, it's kind of funny in light of the World Cup. There's been so much conversation about people from Europe and other parts of the world.
What is this?
Coming over and trying all the different snacks, and they love it, it seems like. But maybe not as healthy in some ways. So how did Consumer Reports analyze the additives and the contaminants? Like, what did they do to kind of go through all of this?
So it essentially looked at 8 additives and 2 contaminants, and these are specifically substances where the U.S. differs from the European threshold for these markers, right? So you won't see these chemicals, these properties in European foods, or at least at the thresholds that they're investigating for this. You won't see them in Europe, and so that's what the investigation hones on to. It's like, okay, here's the split in the road between Europe and America. So how much of these products, how much of these chemicals are in the U.S. manufactured versions of these foods? So it essentially tested using a lot of math that I'm not a mathematician or a scientist, but it essentially created a threshold. And for some of the products, it actually looked at, okay, does the amount that we're testing here exceed the child and adult limits for essentially, okay, a doctor says you should have this amount of this kind of chemical in a daily sense. And so does this product in one serving exceed that threshold? So that's what it kind of tests for. Okay. It sets, here's the bar, which of these products on a given serving per day exceeds that. And a lot of these chemicals can be tied to, heart disease, diabetes, cancer development, just kind of connecting to that from the medical stance.
Right. And the idea being, again, if you're eating more than one serving in a day, as some of us are wont to do, or you're eating them regularly, that can affect that threshold that you're meeting on a constant basis.
Let's take a quick break right there, and we'll be right back.
What did this investigation find when it examined, I think it was 40 different?
Yeah. So I won't get into every single product that it tested because there's just a lot of nuance to it. But here's some keynotes that I thought were interesting. So nearly 2/3 of the 40 products tested, and you could find the products on WRAL.com also. We have a whole list of what exactly these products are. But 2/3 of the 40 products tested contained enough or at least one additive to exceed a broader group of reference levels associated with an increased risk of developing cancer, heart disease, or diabetes. So, like I said, most of these contain those chemical compounds that link to these other things, right? Some things like hot Cheetos, Gushers, Fruit Roll-Ups, Takis, grape-flavored Kool-Aid were tested. They all contained elevated amounts of substances associated with neurobiological issues or DNA damage at certain levels of exposure. So those are some particular products that they found. Here's some specifics on the actual compounds that they tested for. So Red 40. We know Red 40 has been a huge talking point in the last couple of years. And so, a growing body of research has linked Red 40 specifically to neurobehavioral effects and DNA damage. So
especially in kids.
Yes, right. That's been a huge talking point amongst the current administration, right? So Jell-O, sugar-free Jell-O, Ocean Spray, Diet Cran, grape juice, Cheetos, Takis, Kool-Aid, all of those had essentially Red 40 levels that exceeded child and adult limits in one serving. So that was one key takeaway. There's something else called, now we're getting a little bit into the weeds here, glycidyl esters, and they are contaminants that can form essentially its end product is a little bit of a carcinogenic, right? And so they found excessive amounts of that in powdered donuts, Hostess powdered donuts, Little Debbie oatmeal cream pies, Skinny Cow vanilla ice cream sandwiches. In fact, it's my last stat, I promise.
It's all interesting.
The Hostess.
If you're watching the video, you're interested.
The Hostess powdered mini donuts. So one serving of that contained nearly 19 times the amount of a carcinogenic contaminant that public health officials have said is safe to deal. So that's the glycidyl esters.
Yeah.
So I will point out though, we're not talking just junk food, because obviously it's like, okay, well, yeah, if you test a bunch of junk food, obviously you're going to find some stuff that's like probably not amazing for you. So some of the other products they tested were like a muffin mix, which is probably, it's just a common pantry staple. But they found, for instance, pretty standard or levels of 3-MCPD and glycidyl esters that, again, you may not think of a muffin mix containing contaminants and additives like that, but they're there. And that's something that surprised me about the investigation, right? Is like, okay, this thing that is not billed as healthy or unhealthy, it's just this kind of pantry staple, but here it is containing some levels of the substances that they were testing for.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned like diet, like a diet juice was on that list. I mean, that's something that someone is probably picking off the shelf thinking that they're making a pretty healthy choice,
right?
Instead of, the Kool-Aid mix or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, in some ways, I don't know, quite shocking, but it's just something that makes you go, oh, okay, that's not maybe what I would have expected, and something to think about.
Powerade was on, the sugar-free versions of Gatorade, Powerade were tested, and so those tested high in, sucralose and aspartame, stuff like that. That, okay, maybe not in, one serving, if you have one sugar-free Gatorade, it's not going to, dramatically affect your health.
Right.
But I think that the point of the investigation is to call attention to the fact that, hey, these seemingly, sugar-free alternatives, these health products, they're billed as, being good for you because they're, sugar-free ice cream is another thing that's in this investigation. Like, these are things that, yes, you're cutting some stuff out, but this investigation finds, you're also replacing it with other stuff that could be linked to other health problems down the line.
Right. And so with that in mind, how are companies and regulators, are they reacting at all to these findings?
Yeah, so at least 3 companies came out after this investigation finished, and they said that essentially they're changing their product lines, they're changing some of their advertising, they're changing some of their actual formulas, not in specific response to the investigation, but essentially they're saying, yes, you raise an issue that we already kind of thought was an issue. So, in 2027, we're going to be changing the makeup of, one example, Ocean Spray is planning to relaunch its, we mentioned the Diet Cran grape juice. They're relaunching that with a new formula using only, quote, natural colors. So I think that this investigation points to a lot of questions and things that consumers already had about what food was out there on the shelves, and the companies like Kraft, Ocean Spray, Amos came out and said, yes, we're aware of some of these concerns, these health connections that stories like this make. So we're changing this or that product based on X, Y, and Z. So there's been some response. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I kind of like what you said a minute ago, like this is all just information that people can now have when they go shopping. Maybe if there's something on this list that they're like, oh, I keep that stocked in my fridge, or, my kids really love Gushers or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, it's okay, now I know this, just being able to make a more informed decision. Yeah. So what do shoppers need to know as they move forward? How can they, and I mean, if it's in these 40 foods, someone might ask, well, is it in other things too? And how do I find that out?
I mean, I would say, look for some of those common ingredients that you do see in, like, not to put Little Debbie's on blast here, but it's like, okay, well, the oatmeal cream pies tested high in these kinds of additives and contaminants. So what are some of those unnatural products that are maybe similarly found in other products? Can I cut those out of my excessive rotation of food? I would say the point of this is really, as with a lot of good journalism, is kind of just holding up a mirror, and it kind of puts a spotlight. It's just meant to make people more aware of their shopping habits, right? So when you see products, on the flip side of that, we can look at sugar-free pudding was tested as well, but some of it tested really low in things that you would expect it to test high for. So maybe you are a parent and you look at this and you say, okay, well, maybe I can replace this brand of pudding that I know is high in this kind of chemical with this other product that is lower in this kind of thing, right? I think that's the whole point of stories like this is, where can you as a consumer be more educated in what you're purchasing, because it's your money. So where's your money better spent if certain things are more valuable to you, and you want to make sure that you're trying to stay healthy. It's rough though seeing some of these Hostess powdered donuts just high in a lot of stuff. So
but I mean, again, it's not that you can't ever have it again. It's just
right. They even say that.
Yeah.
They even say this doesn't mean that the first time you have one serving of this things are going to go awful. It's just saying, be aware that this is what you're putting in your body. Make a smart, informed decision based off of this.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll definitely keep it in mind for my own snacking. I'm sure you will as well. So, Alex, thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download and for making us part of your morning routine. Another great way to get WRAL news is the Morning Briefing newsletter. That's a daily email with Triangle news, events, and headlines to help you get ready for the day. You can sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter.